The Nag Hammadi texts are not merely historical documents, but portals to a reality that most of humanity has never comprehended. A reality where our very existence is questioned at its most fundamental level. Elaine Pagels, religion historian and Gnosticism expert. Imagine discovering a set of ancient manuscripts suggesting that everything you believe about your own existence is fundamentally wrong. A collection of texts proposing a disturbing idea. You have never truly been alive. In December 1945, near Nag Hammadi in Upper Egypt, a farmer named Muhammad Ali Saman accidentally unearthed a sealed jar containing 13 leather-bound papyrus codices. This finding, later known as the Nag Hammadi Library, proved to be one of the most significant discoveries of ancient texts in the 20th century. A collection of Gnostic writings deliberately hidden more than 1,600 years ago. What makes these manuscripts so extraordinary extends beyond their remarkable preservation. Their content fundamentally challenges our understanding of human existence, presenting a cosmology where our material world is an illusory prison, and we, its inhabitants, have never been truly alive in the deepest and most authentic sense. The Nag Hammadi texts reveal a Gnostic tradition that flourished in the first centuries of the Common Era, offering a radically different vision of reality, a vision systematically suppressed and nearly completely eradicated by the dominant religious orthodoxy. Today, we will dive into the depths of these enigmatic writings to unravel their most disturbing secret: the notion that humanity exists in a state of spiritual sleep, a death in life, imprisoned in physical bodies, and unaware of its true divine nature. This is not just another esoteric interpretation of ancient texts. The Nag Hammadi manuscripts present a coherent and sophisticated system explaining why you, yes, you watching right now, may never have experienced true life as understood by the Gnostics. Throughout this video, we will examine the fundamental concepts of Gnosticism as revealed in the Nag Hammadi texts, including the nature of the pleroma, the myth of the demiurge, the creation of the material world as a prison, and the path to spiritual awakening. We will explore how these ideas relate to other mystical traditions around the world and consider their implications for our contemporary understanding of consciousness and reality. The manuscripts were buried during a time of intense religious persecution. What secrets were so dangerous they needed to be hidden rather than simply destroyed? And why did their guardians choose to preserve them for future generations, taking immense personal risks? What you are about to discover may fundamentally transform your perception of reality. Prepare to question everything you thought you knew about your own existence. The heart of the Gnostic revelation found in the Nag Hammadi texts lies in a cosmology radically different from that presented by dominant religious traditions. To understand the claim that we have never been alive, we must first understand how the Gnostics conceived the structure of reality. According to the Apocryphon of John, one of the most complete texts in the collection, there exists a transcendent reality known as the pleroma, the fullness, representing the true realm of divinity. The pleroma is described as a realm of pure light, perfection, and completeness, inhabited by divine beings called aeons, emanations of the Supreme God, the Ineffable Father. From the Ineffable Father came Barbello, the first emanation, the perfect thought, the image of the invisible, the text describes. This cosmology presents a spiritual reality infinitely vaster and more complex than the material universe we perceive with our senses. The cosmic tragedy, according to the Gnostic view, occurs when one of the aeons, often identified as Sophia, wisdom, acts independently and generates an imperfect entity known as Yaldabaoth, the demiurge. This being, described as having the form of a dragon with a lion's head, lacks full knowledge of the pleroma, and, in his ignorance and arrogance, declares, "I am God," and there is no other God besides me." The demiurge, believing himself the only God, creates the material world as an imperfect copy of the pleroma. This material world, our world, is described in Gnostic texts as a prison, a flawed imitation of divine reality, governed by forces called archons who keep humanity in a state of ignorance. The Gospel of Truth, another fundamental text from Nag Hammadi, describes our condition. Thus, they did not know the Father, for it was He whom they did not see. Therefore, error grew strong and worked on its matter foolishly, not having known the truth. It became a fabrication, preparing with power and beauty a substitute for the truth. This view presents our material reality not as a benevolent divine creation, but as a prison architected by an imperfect entity. More disturbing still, it suggests that we, as human beings, are composed of both divine and material elements. A divine spark from the pleroma imprisoned in physical bodies and minds controlled by the archons. The Gospel of Thomas expresses this condition with disturbing clarity. "If you bring forth what is within you, what you bring forth will save you. If you do not bring forth what is within you, what you do not bring forth will destroy you." Sitten, this passage suggests that our true nature remains dormant within us, waiting to be awakened. According to this cosmology, we have never been truly alive because we exist in a state of spiritual sleep, unconscious of our true nature and divine origin. We live as sleepwalkers in a world of shadows, mistaking the images projected on the cave wall for reality, to use the Platonic metaphor. The parallels with other mystical traditions are striking. The Buddhist concept of Maya, cosmic illusion, echoes the Gnostic view of the material world as a false reality. The Hindu tradition also speaks of avidya, primordial ignorance that prevents us from recognizing our true nature. But what distinguishes Gnosticism is its explanation for this condition, not as a result of our own karma or choices, but as a deliberately constructed prison. Who are these cosmic jailers, and how do they keep humanity in a state of ignorance? The archons, described in the Nag Hammadi texts, represent perhaps the most disturbing aspect of Gnostic cosmology. These entities, whose name derives from the Greek archon, meaning ruler or authority, are portrayed as the administrators of the cosmic system that keeps humanity in a state of spiritual unconsciousness. The secret book of John describes the archons in disturbing detail. "And he appointed 7 kings, one for each firmament of heaven, to reign over the 7 heavens, and 5 to reign over the depth of the abyss." These beings are often represented with hybrid forms, combinations of human and animal characteristics, symbolizing their distorted and imperfect nature. According to the Gnostic view, the archons are not merely symbolic, but real entities that exert influence over the human mind. They operate through what the texts call counter-movements or antimemon pneuma, counterfeit spirit, implanting thoughts and desires that keep humans focused on the material world and its concerns. The Apocryphon of John explains how the demiurge and his archons created the human body. "And they brought Adam into the shadow of death, to remake him again from earth, water, fire, and the spirit that comes from matter." This is the tomb of the reshaping of the body, the prison made by the robbers. This passage reveals a deeply disturbing vision. Our own bodies were designed as prisons to contain the divine spark. Every aspect of physical existence, from basic needs like hunger and thirst to more complex desires like social status and power, serves to keep our attention directed toward the material world, distracting us from our true nature. The Gospel of Philip observes, "The world came into being through a mistake, for he who created it wanted to create it imperishable and immortal. He fell short of attaining his desire." This passage suggests that our reality is fundamentally flawed, not by intentional design, but by cosmic incompetence. The demiurge tried to create something perfect, but failed due to his own imperfect nature. Particularly revealing is the tripartite tractate, which explains how human ignorance is maintained. They brought humans into great tribulation, for just as blind birds fall into a trap, so too humans were deceived and caught in ignorance from the beginning. This ignorance is not simply a lack of knowledge, but a metaphysical veil that obscures our perception of reality. The Gnostics called this state hypostatization, the tendency to mistake mental abstractions for concrete realities. In modern terms, we might say we are trapped in a simulation that we mistake for reality. But why would the archons do this? According to the texts, they feed on our emotional and mental energies. The Gospel of Philip suggests the archons want to deceive man, since they see that he has a kinship with those that are truly good. They take the name of the good and give it to the not good, so that through the names they might deceive and bind him to the not good. This idea finds disturbing parallels in other traditions. In the Taoist tradition, there is talk of demons of the senses that distract the mind from spiritual cultivation. In Sufism, there is the concept of nafs, the lower ego that must be transcended. Even Plato, in his cave allegory, describes manipulators who project shadows to deceive the prisoners. The crucial difference is that, for the Gnostics, this manipulation operates on a cosmic level, embedded in the very structure of material reality. But if we are trapped in this cosmic prison, is there any possibility of escape? The Nag Hammadi texts offer a surprising answer. What does it truly mean to be alive in the Gnostic conception? And how can we awaken to this authentic life? If we accept the Gnostic premise that we have never been truly alive, a crucial question arises: how can we awaken to authentic life? The Nag Hammadi texts not only diagnose our condition, but offer a path to liberation, a process the Gnostics called gnosis. Gnosis does not simply mean intellectual knowledge, but a form of direct experiential knowledge, a transformative revelation that awakens the divine spark dormant within the human being. The Gospel of Truth describes this awakening. When knowledge approaches, ignorance dissolves of itself. As darkness dissolves when light appears, so also deficiency is eliminated by fullness. This awakening does not occur through external rituals or dogmas, but through an inner journey of self-knowledge. The Gospel of Thomas contains perhaps the most direct passage about this process. Jesus said, "He who drinks from my mouth will become as I am. I myself shall become him, and the hidden things will be revealed to him." This enigmatic language suggests a complete transformation of identity, not just intellectually understanding our divine nature, but directly experiencing it, becoming one with the divine source. It is a process of remembering, not learning something new. The Gospel of Philip explains, "Those who say they will die first and then rise are in error. If they do not first receive the resurrection while they live, when they die, they will receive nothing." This passage directly challenges the notion of posthumous salvation, insisting that awakening must occur during this life. The texts describe various practices to facilitate this awakening, including meditation, contemplation of sacred symbols, and esoteric interpretation of myths and scriptures. The Secret Book of John mentions a practice called ascension through the spheres, where the initiate learns to consciously navigate through the archontic realms after physical death, avoiding traps and illusions. Particularly interesting is the Gospel of Mary, which presents Mary Magdalene as an initiate who received esoteric teachings directly. She instructs, when the soul leaves the flesh behind, the powers confront it. If it recognizes each of them for what they really are, it will escape their hands. This passage suggests that awakening involves seeing through the illusions the archons present, recognizing their true nature. In modern psychological terms, we might interpret this as the ability to recognize and transcend mental and social conditioning that limits our consciousness. The treatise on the resurrection offers a radical perspective on what it means to be truly alive. Do not think of resurrection as an illusion. It is no illusion, but something real. Instead of saying that resurrection is an illusion, it would be more appropriate to say that the world is an illusion rather than the resurrection. This complete inversion of perspective suggests that what we consider life, our everyday material existence, is the true illusion, while spiritual awakening represents authentic life. We are, in essence, walking dead until the divine spark within us is awakened. Have you ever had moments of inexplicable clarity where you briefly glimpsed beyond the veil of ordinary reality? Experiences where the world seemed momentarily more vivid, more real than ever before? According to the Gnostic view, these might be fleeting glimpses of your true state of being. The awakening process is not presented as easy or guaranteed. The Gospel of Thomas warns, "Let him who seeks continue seeking until he finds. When he finds, he will become troubled. When he becomes troubled, he will be astonished, and he will rule over the all." Awakening may initially be disturbing, as it fundamentally challenges everything we believed to be true. But if this awakening is possible, how does it manifest in practical life? And what forces in society might be actively working to prevent this process? The Gnostic awakening, far from being merely an abstract mystical experience, manifests in concrete transformations in the individual's life. The Nag Hammadi texts suggest that the truly alive person, one who has achieved gnosis, lives in a radically different way in the world. The Gospel of Philip observes, "He who possesses the knowledge of the truth is free. The free does not sin, for whoever sins is the slave of sin." This freedom does not refer to a license to act without moral restraints, but to liberation from unconscious patterns of behavior imposed by the archons through the body and conditioned mind. An awakened person, according to the texts, develops what we might call double vision, the ability to operate in the material world while maintaining constant awareness of its illusory nature. The Gospel of Thomas expresses, "Recognize what is before your face, and what is hidden from you will be revealed to you." This expanded consciousness manifests as deep compassion for others still trapped in illusion, combined with detachment from worldly concerns that normally consume human attention. The Gospel of Truth describes, "He became a way for those who were lost, and knowledge for those who were ignorant, a discovery for those who were seeking." Interestingly, the texts suggest that the awakened person does not necessarily abandon the world, but lives in it with a transformed perspective. The Gospel of Philip states, "Light and darkness, life and death, right and left, are brothers of one another. They are inseparable. Because of this, neither are the good good, nor the evil evil, nor is life life, nor death death." This non-dualistic vision transcends conventional categories and allows for inner freedom even amid the limitations of the material world. It is a way of being in the world but not of the world, a phrase that echoes across various mystical traditions. But if this awakening represents such profound liberation, why is it not more widely sought and achieved? The Gnostic texts suggest that powerful forces actively work to prevent this process. The Apocalypse of Peter, another Nag Hammadi text, presents a scathing critique of religious institutions that, according to the author, distort the original teachings. They will cleave to the name of a dead man, thinking that they will become pure, And there shall be others of those who are outside our number who name themselves bishop, and also deacons, as if they have received their authority from God. This passage suggests that the very institutions claiming to offer spiritual salvation may actually perpetuate the archontic prison by substituting the search for direct experience with external dogmas and rituals. Rather than facilitating awakening, they may inadvertently reinforce the veil of ignorance. In contemporary society, we can identify analogous forces that keep human consciousness in a state of distraction and fragmentation. Constant sensory stimulation, rampant consumerism, and identification with limiting social identities can all be seen as modern manifestations of the archontic system described in the Gnostic texts. The Gospel of Thomas warns, "If those who lead you say to you, 'See, the kingdom is in the sky,' then the birds of the sky will precede you. If they say to you, 'It is in the sea,' then the fish will precede you. Rather, the kingdom is inside of you, and it is outside of you." This passage criticizes the tendency to project spiritual fulfillment onto a distant realm or post-mortem future, when it is actually accessible here and now. The parallels with contemporary philosophies are notable. Philosopher Guy Debord, in The Society of the Spectacle, describes how modern life has become an accumulation of spectacles where all that was directly lived has moved away into a representation, a description that eerily echoes the Gnostic view of the world as simulacrum. Have you ever felt that something fundamental is missing in your experience of life? That behind daily routines, achievements, and relationships, there exists an inexplicable emptiness? The Gnostics would suggest that this feeling is the call of the divine spark within you, yearning to awaken. But if awakening is possible, and if it represents the true life we have never experienced, how can we apply these ancient ideas in our modern context? The central message of the Nag Hammadi texts, that we have never been truly alive, may initially seem bleak. However, paradoxically, it contains profound hope. If we have never been truly alive, then a state of being infinitely richer, more conscious, and more authentic awaits our awakening. How can we apply this ancient wisdom in our contemporary lives? The Gnostic texts, despite their antiquity, offer surprisingly relevant insights for our modern condition. First, the concept of self-knowledge as the path to liberation resonates deeply in our age of constant distraction. The Gospel of Thomas instructs, "If you do not bring forth what is within you, what you do not bring forth will destroy you." Dieter. This passage can be interpreted as a call to examine our unconscious conditioning, automatic thought patterns, and unquestioned assumptions about reality. Contemplative practices such as meditation, mindfulness, and self-inquiry, present in many spiritual traditions, can be seen as modern methods to facilitate this self-knowledge. These practices allow us to create space between our observing consciousness and the thoughts, emotions, and sensations we normally identify with, potentially revealing the divine spark the Gnostics describe. Second, the Gnostic critique of religious authorities who substitute direct experience with dogmas reminds us of the importance of maintaining spiritual autonomy. The Gospel of Mary presents Mary Magdalene challenging Peter. "Do you think I am lying about the Savior?" This passage suggests that true spiritual authority comes from direct experience, not hierarchical positions. In our modern context, this may encourage us to question not only traditional religious authorities, but also new forms of authority, from self-help gurus to algorithms that imperceptibly shape our perception of reality. Gnostic awakening involves keen discernment and willingness to verify everything through direct experience. Third, Gnostic cosmology invites us to reconsider our relationship with the material world. The Gospel of Philip observes, "The world came into being through a mistake." This does not necessarily mean we should completely reject the physical world, but rather develop a more conscious relationship with it, recognizing both its beauty and its limitations as an expression of ultimate reality. This perspective can inspire a more balanced relationship with technology, consumption, and built environments, appreciating them as tools and creative expressions without mistaking them for sources of ultimate fulfillment. As the Gospel of Thomas warns, "If the flesh came into being because of spirit, it is a wonder. But if spirit came into being because of the body, it is a wonder of wonders." Finally, the Gnostic vision reminds us of the importance of community on the spiritual path. Although awakening is fundamentally an individual experience, the texts frequently show dialogues between disciples and knowledge sharing. The dialogue of the Savior portrays deep conversations among spiritual seekers, suggesting that the path to awakening is often facilitated by authentic companionship. In our era of superficial digital connections, this invites us to cultivate relationships that support mutual awakening, communities where we can honestly share our experiences, question collective assumptions, and sustain each other through moments of transformation. The final message of the Nag Hammadi texts is not one of despair, but of radical possibility. The Gospel of Truth concludes, "This is the place of rest for those who have been given to rest there. This is the place of truth. This is the place where there is no deception, but eternal rest." This rest is not inertia or escapism, but a state of being characterized by clarity, presence, and inner freedom. The true life that contrasts with our current state of spiritual sleep. Have you ever considered that what you call life might be just a fraction of what is possible to experience? That your current consciousness might be like a single note in a cosmic symphony you cannot yet fully hear? The Nag Hammadi manuscripts invite us to consider this disturbing and inspiring possibility, that we have never been truly alive, but that awakening to authentic life is within reach for all of us, here and now. What do you think? Does this ancient Gnostic wisdom resonate with your own experiences and intuitions? Share your reflections in the comments below, and if this video awakened something in you, consider sharing it with others who might also be seeking a deeper understanding of reality. Until the next mystery, here at the Unread Codex.